Welcome back. You're watching On the Sport, and before we continue, let's take you back to our poll question for tonight, in which we are seeking your views, and not a yes or no answer, but seeking your views on the campaign by opposition MPs and civil society to impeach the president. Do send us your comments to 8778. We'll sample some of them during this show. I want to take some comments here. I think it's Jenny or Jennifer in Gulu who says, impeaching the president is a good move for the country, but can it work for this corrupt government? NRM thinks the country, you and others think the country, and in the party think the country is yours. Isaac in Barara says they should go on because it is true the office is abused. I think Frank is also expiring. I hope not. And on the spot,
he has not seen the expiry date on my head.
I practically believe that impeaching President Museveni, led by Odongo and Uncle Ken, is political madness. There are no reasons, and the reasons are unreasonable, and so I think it won't yield anything. That is Babi in Kasese. Okay, Frank, one of the grounds you mentioned just before we went for the break is inflation.
Yeah,
you and I saw skyrocketing inflation towards the last end of the last quarter of last year.
Yes.
And that has continuously gone on. We've seen the prices of food products.
Yes.
But yeah, let's still look at the fact that we still have food products, the prices up, and of course fuel and other commodities. And they also claim this has led to various other problems like unemployment, when companies are cutting down on costs, and of course on the expenditure that they claim was propagated and of course increased by the huge government expenditure, bill of government expenditure, through of course the creation of various districts, creation of various offices, the number of, you can imagine the number of offices we have, the number of RDCs, the number of advisors, that if government could only cut its expenditure, you could actually answer some of these questions.
Well, mitigating government expenditure is a core objective of our macroeconomic policy. That's why we have a policy called the MTEF, the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, where every spending agency of government is given a ceiling not to exceed. And that's actually my work, Odongoto's work, any other MP's work, to make sure we curtail government wasteful expenditures through the appropriations we make every financial year. But it's actually laughable to want to accuse the president of inflation. One, for the last 20-something years, since 1992, when the NRM government, amidst sharp criticism, adopted the policy of liberalization, you get it, liberalized foreign exchange, for 20-something years, I think up to last year, okay? Maintaining the same monetary and fiscal policies without any deviations, we managed to control inflation between 5 to 6%. Really. But now, what are the factors that led to this bubble of inflation in the last year to really balloon? And was Uganda the only exception? First of all, the causes were not in any way a deviation from our monetary policy. You had our Governor Mutebere, okay, very unpopular with his statements, but in a way he was making sense, that I will continue to raise the interest rates so as to discourage the appetite for credit, okay, until inflation comes down. That was a monetary intervention. So you cannot accuse government of a wrong monetary policy. Now, the causes that big bubble of inflation, the factors were domestic, partly on the side of food shortages.
And that they also blame on government's poor planning policy.
Well, they should provide an alternative. So that's not a point of impeachment. That's a point of political contestation. Just say your policy on agriculture is wrong. We provide for a superior policy. You get the point? Now, the point was run Uganda, mobilize people to engage in agriculture, provide irrigation schemes. I am happy some schemes are up and running because weather conditions, which were unprecedented, led to serious crop failures. So really, we should be able to explain inflation. People last year were rioting over fuel prices. Nobody explained why they came down. They came down because some of the forces were external. So it can't be out of or as a result of domestic policy. You get the point? Interest rates are beginning to move down. So when there is a shock in the economy, You must explain what is the source of this shock. Is it as a result of a domestic policy? Let me give you a simple example. One domestic policy that can completely run our businesses mad. If, for example, government started competing with credit from commercial banks with the private sector, okay? You have Ministry of Finance going to get credit from Standard Chartered Bank, okay? Getting from DFCU. Government competing with you and me for credit. It would completely squeeze out the private actors and make credit very high. But you have government that continues to finance its deficit through reserves, through treasury bonds, through concessional loans from the international financing agencies. So you cannot therefore say that the president and his government are running the economy mad because of a wrong policy.
Frank,
don't just jump on every challenge that is even from God.
Okay, Frank,
a hailstorm has hit on quickly impeach the president.
Let me quickly take a look at some of the comments here. Simon Peter in Mbale says, the problem is not Museveni as an individual. We have seen countries evict their leaders, but the crisis still stands.
Of course,
I think you say that. Otto and Ken, these are honorables, are panicking with failures of opposition schemes and will stop at nothing, including cheap jokes to capture public attention. Churchill in Kampala. Matthew says, in my view, it is long overdue, despite the fact that the ministers who abuse office are asked to resign. Why not the president, who is, of course, the appointing authority? And we have a comment here, you didn't leave a name. Yes, 1,000,000 times better than another Bush war and many innocent lives lost. Let one man answer for his own sins and serve the rest, because they're saying, obviously, he or she is saying it would rather be better than going to war. And the campaign is ridiculous. It has no logic, no concrete facts, and no direction. It's all sentiments and quite laughable. Alan in Chitintare. And Frank is, you should know what, honestly, it's and high time Museveni left. Let us not be single-sighted. That is Masereko, I think. And Luchamuze and friends are just being dramatic. They can do better in Fun Factory. Ugandans do not need comedians for MPs. Agnes in Ntinda. Fiona does say, because of serious and sensitive, Ugandans cannot just sit back and watch the situation go on from bad to worse. Quickly. A good point from myself. It's high time Museveni left. That's not the topic we are on. And that's not the topic colleagues are bringing. Well, impeachment and him leaving seem to be the same. So now, if they are looking for a shortcut to achieve their political desires, you get it, through manipulated accusations that have no justification, to an extent that even their own political colleagues in the opposition have failed to embrace it and thus are being threatened with blackmail. Then there they lose it, my colleagues lose Frank, it. We are really winding up, and this is where I want to ask. Yeah. But in your view, yes, and you can use that minute or two to wind up on that point. Yeah. In your view, surely 50 members of parliament, that is a percentage. What, above 30% of the members of parliament is not bad. Extremely bad. Indeed, it is not bad. You have an opposition side that is, I think, up to 80 or whatever. So you cannot say that if 50 MPs can append their signature on this motion, that surely this motion is laughable. Your final comments. Well, whether laughable or unserious, as your commentators, most of them supported the position, is that you have people who want set of political scores. First of all, some of them have failed to accept that Museveni won elections. This is a point that we even debated today, and the speaker made a ruling on that one was settled. There are people who believe that through such impeachment processes, through court litigations like the famous DP used to do, okay, on every petition DP was the lead, they can score the political points they missed on during the electoral process. So someone believes, because I disagree with Museveni, we've tried him twice or thrice in the entire electoral process, he has defeated us, maybe we can have a shortcut. Now, for you to do that, you need to be a little bit more smarter, okay, produce credible evidence, and then be believed. So if the motion, however many of the 30 or 40 have appended their signatures, if the motion has failed to gain universal acceptance in the opposition corridor, then I don't see it even crossing to the bigger side of the NRM. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you so much for your time. Viewers, because of time constraints, we have come to the end of tonight's show. We would like to thank you so much for your comments to tonight's poll question. And on the sport, we'll be back next week. Do join us then. For now, it's good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
NTV, turning on your world.